Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Yuba County 5 missing persons slash murder case. A lot of people have talked about this already, but I'm going to talk about it again. A cold case is almost always going to grab people's interests more than solved cases. People like the concept of what is unknown more than what is explainable because they can come up with their own ideas surrounding what might have happened. But also, as I will provide a petition, but we'll get back to that in a minute. So, the details of this case. The Yuba County 5 were a group of 5 young men who disappeared under mysterious circumstances from Yuba County, California on February 24th, 1978. These men were aged between 24 and 32 years old and had differing forms of developmental delays, which is relevant to the case to try to navigate the ideas of foul play, but they were all cognizant. 2 of the men, Jack Madruga and Gary Mathias, had driver's license and served in the Army. Gary Mathias was considered to have the most severe mental health as he fought with schizophrenia and had on occasion become violent when he had not taken his meds. Today, Wire, Sterling, and Hewitt would be on the autism spectrum, most likely. Madruga, the driver that night, was never diagnosed. They had traveled to a college basketball game, disappearing afterwards, which was concerning pretty much immediately to their parents when they had not returned, as they had their own game the following day and had even laid out their clothes for the game beforehand. On February 28th, Rangers found Jack Madruga's car abandoned in the opposite direction they would have taken to get home. It was a 2.5-hour drive from Chico, where the college game was, way up in the mountains. The scene led them to believe that no foul play was at hand. The car was not stuck in the snow or damaged from the bumpy road, which made them believe the driver either took care when driving or knew the roads expertly. Rangers searched the area for 5 days and found no trace of the men shortly after a blizzard rolled in. A few people had claimed sightings of them, but then no news for months. In June, a motorcyclist noticed a broken window on a Forest Service trailer 19 miles from where the car was found. In the trailer was the body of Ted Wire. The day after Wire was discovered, the search for the others resumed. Madruga and Sterling were found on opposite sides of the road to the trailer, 11.4 miles from the car. Madruga's body had been partially scavenged by the wildlife. 2 days after, closer to the trailer, Hewitt's father found his son's bones. An assistant sheriff found a skull 100 yards downhill, which was used to determine the bones were Hewitt's remains. There was no sign of Mathias, though his tennis shoes were in the forest trailer. Ted had appeared to live 8 to 13 weeks after the disappearance based on hair growth and weight loss. There were several sheets tucked tightly around Ted, which indicated someone was with him, as he could not have wrapped himself up that way. Things get more confusing when police find winter clothing, matches, and other materials that could be used to start a fire. Despite the freezing temperatures, there was no evidence of an attempt to start a fire. A propane tank was connected to the trailer. All they had to do was turn the gas on, Yuba County Lieutenant Lance Ayers states. In the storage shed outside, there was a year's supply of C rations, which are individual prepped meals issued to the U.S. military. The men had consumed about 36 of the meals, but left most of the rations untouched. Madruga's mother says they wouldn't have fled like that. We know good and well that somebody made them do it. Questions just keep stacking. Chico to Yuba is a straight shot. People question what it was that led them to abandon the trip and turn in a completely different direction. There was gas in the car and it was working. Did they lose the keys? How did they get that far from the car in the snow? 19 miles is a hell of a hike under normal circumstances. Why had Wire appeared to starve with so much food nearby? Was somebody withholding rations, or had Ted been suffering gangrene due to his frostbite? And then as I mentioned earlier, I do have a petition to sign. If you guys would like that, it'll be linked below. An individual had started a petition asking for the reevaluation of the case now that interest has been continually reignited, hoping for closure for the family and adding details not referenced in most reporting. There were some systemic failures, including evidence suppression. Whitley, Matthias's brother-in-law, had documented history of weapons offenses. They also did not research this clear confession. William Prater reported on December 22nd, 1994, that he killed a girl and claimed responsibility for the death of 2 of 7 mentally disabled men in the hills 17 years ago. Despite the dates and the victim profiles matching, there was no investigation started. In 2019, the case file was destroyed months after a mandate that required police and court document disclosure. The replacement with an electronic file raises many questions on validity and integrity. People wonder what might have been removed and the intent behind destroying the original documents during a period of legal transparency obligations. Matthias's family was also not informed that the police had believed Gary to be a victim of foul play. Under today's current standards, this constitutes a full reinvestigation. They also did not complete full autopsies. There were incomplete toxicology screenings, which could develop and determine whether they were disoriented from substances, potentially leading to their deaths. No x-rays. Madruga's body was damaged by the wildlife, which decreased available information, but an x-ray could have shown evidence of struggle or assault. Missing histological studies, which analyzed tissue for disease or damage, and a hypothermia diagnosis on skeletons. Medically and forensically unsound because it cannot be confirmed without soft tissue. Diagnosing hypothermia post-mortem is tricky, and it is not good practice to use it as a blanket statement in deaths in the cold without ruling out other more easily proven reasons first. Madruga's cervical fracture was unexamined for microfractures. Certificates were amended without updated studies, no tissue sections taken, no microscopic slides, no formal histology report, only macroscopic descriptions, and more. Also, the file states photographs were taken of the crime scene, but these pictures appear nowhere in the file. There's a lot weird with this case, and that is what draws so much attention to it repeatedly. Hopefully that attention can be used to the benefit of the families. These families deserve genuine closure, and the shortcomings from the investigators should be apologized for. I hope that I said that as respectfully as possible, because I don't talk about this case to create a spectacle around it. I didn't want to go into harsh details. I don't want it to be disrespectful in any way. But yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff about this case. Like, a lot of it just doesn't make sense. Like, there was some reason why these things happened. The people that had claimed sightings of them, did they actually see them? And if so, when and where and how? Like, Ted had apparently lived 8 to 13 weeks after the original disappearance. I don't understand how nobody saw any sign of them, how they got so far during a blizzard. Like, I don't know, there's just a lot weird about it. Like I said, I just wish the best for the families, for them to heal, and I don't know if the right thing to do is to reinvestigate, reopen the case, but obviously there were some flaws in the investigation, and I think that if reopening the case gives the families a definitive answer to close out this chapter and be able to grieve, not knowing and not understanding like the details surrounding the death of a loved one, can be harmful, but it can also, like, some people don't want to know the details. I think most of all, they deserve closure in whatever form, and truthfully an apology for the mishandling of the case. I'll also provide my references in the description below. This case did interest me, but I don't think in the future that I will continue to make videos like this. I think it's difficult to do this in the appropriate way, in the respectful way, and it's emotionally taxing to constantly read into missing person case and true crime cases. I used to listen to them a lot, and it was not very good for my mental health. I think it's a worthy cause, and so I want to bring attention to it for that, to hopefully get better closure for the families. But yeah, other than that, I don't want to like report on cases that have already been reported on before, that are already closed out and already, you know, solved for the most part. But yeah, take a look at that petition, and I'll be back next week with another topic. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week.